sign-in sheets wanting to speak, so we're going to move right ahead to the student pride card winners. Looks like, is Mr. Walker going to go first? Or, oh, nope. No. Mr. Streeter.
All right, our first pride card winner is Molly Wiles. Molly Wiles? Molly's here. Mrs. Moon wrote this. Without being asked, Molly and her partner cleaned the classroom during free choice and inside recess. That's very impressive that she did that during recess. Our next person who I know is here is Gracie Wheeler. Come on up here, Gracie. Gracie in Mrs. Moon's class, without being asked, Gracie and her partner cleaned the classroom up during free choice and inside recess. Our next pride card winner, who is also here, Gabriella Siciliano. Come on up here. Gabby made great decisions all day today. She was kind to her friends, she was helpful, and she tried really hard during reading time. Great job. That's from Mrs. Happy. Our next pride card winner is a second grader, Chloe Guth. Come on up, Chloe. This is from Mrs. Lang, your teacher. Chloe is a super student and great citizen. She always follows the rules and directions. She always tries her hardest and turns in neat work. Way to go, Chloe. You are awesome. Congratulations. I'll give you this. Nice job. I think we've had 2 booths recently. Right, she won in the fall, okay. And then we're going to have repeat Kaisers here. Jason Kaiser, come on up. This is from Mrs. Bain. Jason goes the extra mile to help classmates learn science concepts. He takes his own time to make wonderful science posters. Awesome job, Jason. There you go, sir. Congratulations. We shake hands every morning too in the car ride line. He's a very polite young man. Parker Hollander. Come on up, Parker. This one's from Mrs. Steffen. Parker is a great example of a 4th grader who has Viking pride. Keep being respectful, kind, and safe. You are amazing, Parker. That's from Mrs. Steffen. Very much. Congratulations. Finally, Madison Hamill. I don't see Maddie here. Miss Hamill got hers from Mrs. Green for helping the custodians set up for the art show, which is very impressive. So thank you, Maddie. So a quick round of applause for all the yellow middle school.
Good evening, guys. Our pride card winner from 6th grade is not here. I don't believe. Brendan Kadikis received a card from Miss Gregory. It says Brendan Kadikis stayed after class to put up chairs on sweep day without being asked. He and a classmate worked quickly and still made it to their next class in a timely manner. He's not here. Okay. Joe Ward is our winner from 7th grade. A card from Mrs. Barkhurst, and Joe is also not here. Joe is always very studious and respectful. He participates very well and always has thoughtful responses. He is a very nice and responsible young man. Good job, Joe. And then finally, from 8th grade, Joe Swan, he is not here. This is a card from Mrs. Shago. Joe is very helpful in the lunchroom. He is always happy to help clean up his table. I appreciate you, Joe. So great job to those 3 guys. And Mrs. Sandell with our high school cards.
Good evening. All right, 9th grade, Jacob Simpson. Jacob has demonstrated good work habits all year. He comes to class prepared, is aware of what needs to be done, and plans ahead for long-term projects. Boy, I wish I could do all those things. He is organized and works to get things done. Great job, Jacob. Catherine. Oh, this is one of Mr. Negron's. I'm gonna do my best. In recognition of Catherine Guild for her initiative in motivating several of her classmates to complete required tasks that ultimately allowed them to successfully finish and pass a required language arts project. Her dedication to her friends reflects great credit upon herself, the sophomore class, and the Guild family. Caitlin Davis. Come on up, Caitlin. This is from Mrs. Nyland. Thank you so much for all your hard work during our Earth Day event. We could not have done it without you. Caitlin, you want to tell us a little bit about Earth Day, what you guys did? Fully on the spot. They did so many activities on the grounds, and did you run a group? Yeah. Yeah, and the students in Mrs. Nyland's class, and Mr. Boswell's class, and Mr. Phillips' class, they all had, and Mr. Riley's class, they all had different groups, and they helped all the younger kids conduct all the different projects that were going on around the school grounds. So we appreciate all the work you did. Oh, yay! Go ahead and shake hands. Good job. And our 12th grade winner was also from Mrs. Nyland, Mrs. Natalie Wolford. Thank you for your help in sharing Earth Day activities with our elementary students. I appreciate your dedication and attitude. You make my job worth doing. So from the high school.
Can we give them a round of applause? For that? It's really nice to see the students, all doing so well, and it's really nice to every month to be able to recognize some of the students for their work above and beyond. And it's really nice to see a lot of the kids. We've seen repeat kids in here again. That's always obviously real nice. You can remember them, and then kids, you remember them from getting the cards when they were in 2nd or 3rd grade, and now they're in 4th or 5th or whatever and getting them. So it's really nice to see. You are more than welcome to stay. We'd love to have you. However, we would certainly understand if you don't want to stay for the business part of the meeting. So it's completely your choice. We do understand either way. So with that, if we could do roll call, please, Tom.
Pusateri?
Here.
Mr. Brock?
Here.
Mr. Fleischer?
Here.
Ms. Whittlesey?
Here.
Mr. Gall?
Here.
Okay. I'd like to can I get a motion to adopt the listed agenda for tonight's meeting? Second, please.
I'll second it.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Whittlesey?
Yes.
Brock?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Gum?
Yes.
Pusateri?
Yes. Okay, that brings us to item 5, the President's Report. Not really much of a report, but I noticed the one little girl, kindergarten girl, had the Fun Run shirt on. And, my son is 24, 25, something like that. I should know, but I don't. And he did the Fun Run. So it's neat to see that they're continuing to do that and enjoy that. And it's really a nice activity for them. So that's nice to see. And then last week, I believe, was Teacher Recognition Week.
Yes. Good
So just wanted to echo the sentiments of thank you to all of our staff, teachers. That's really nice to see all the things that they do. And were you going to say anything about the plane ride in your presentation? Okay, then I won't. So,
All kinds of thunder being stolen.
Yes, I don't want to steal your thunder.
That's
So,
pretty
but
cool.
but a lot of nice things going on in the district, and it's nice to see a good year, and we're getting ready to wind it out. And I don't think we meet again until after graduation. So, just a great job to everybody for all the work through the year. So, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
And with that, we'll go to the superintendent's report.
Okay, I have a lot of things here. Hopefully I won't steal everyone's thunder on the way, but first thing I want to congratulate the softball team. They're PTC champs. They've had an amazing season. I've had a chance to watch them play. I can't believe how young they are. It's a team filled with a lot of sophomores and freshmen, and they beat Rootstown last night. What was the final score? I know.
17-0.
Yeah, we were
Wow.
there, and I hate to sound like a wimp, but I got cold and I started wandering towards my car at the end. But no big surprise there. So, but congratulations to the team. That was amazing. Also, I want to congratulate the spelling bee champ. I went to the spelling bee they had. Was that yesterday or the day before? Mr. Streeter, was that yesterday?
That was yesterday.
Yeah.
And the winner, you probably going to announce it, was Emma. How do you say her last name? Chafee. And she won on the word cinder, which is pretty impressive. And it was pretty neat seeing how nervous, and not even the kids, but the teachers were very nervous for their students. It was pretty awesome day. Other things, just a quick thank you to Mr. Dockery and Bob Hetler for their work replacing district computer switches. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of manual labor, and they put a lot of time into making it so our technology continues to run smoothly. So I'm going to say thanks to them. Elizabeth Crisp is our new psychologist. She could not make it. She will be here in June though. She called and just said something had come up, but she promised to be here next month. Also, a special thank you to Cheryl Mirko for her monetary donation to the Waterloo Local Schools Library. And very quickly, what I'd like to do, if we could, is to go through our update on the 5-year strategic plan. If we can do that, Mr. Walker, would you be the maestro behind the screen? What I've asked to do for this guy, so you don't have to hear my voice throughout the whole thing, I divided it up, each section up with our administrative staff. And just to go through it, and if you all would have any questions, I know we've tried to answer some already. If you guys would have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or any of the administrators could as well. What we believe in order to achieve the vision of the district, there are these 6 categories we have. And what I did, I just simply went back to what was used 6 years ago. That I think Andy Hill developed a 5-year strategic plan, and what we did was take a lot of things that were already there, and we're going to maintain them, but there were also some things that we added to tweak that process. The first thing, facilities, safety, security, and transportation, technology, curriculum, instruction, and assessment, faculty, staff, student personnel, school and community relations, and of course the financial aspect. All these things we believe are the important things to make our school district move well and move forward. The first thing we have, if you could click that for us, Mr. Walker, we have facilities, safety, security, and transportation.
You up first.
Mr. Streeter.
Safety boy.
Captain Safety.
He calls himself Safety Boy. Why, I don't know.
Well, this year, I think the biggest thing I can key in on is Navigate. That was a system that we went with last year, and I was a little skeptical at first because I wasn't sure what they were going to provide us. Obviously, the state asks that we do 6 emergency drills where we're removing the entire staff and student body from the building, which are basically fire drills. We have to do 3 safety drills, and we do those in accordance with the Portage County Sheriff Department, and then a tornado drill for each month of tornado season that we're in session. So that's the basics. So I was kind of confused as to how Navigate would help us better that, but I was actually really impressed, and I've been very satisfied with that system. They came and did the 360 photographs of each one of our rooms in the district. So we have that on our website, on the Navigate website, which we give to all the first responders. So the Portage County Sheriff Department has that, as well as the 2 fire departments that are in district. It also gives those first responders little icons when they log into this system of where every shut off, like gas shut off, fire extinguisher, and just any imaginable shut off you can imagine, as well as windows. So it can give, they could be, you know, if this building was in lockdown and we had an intruder or something like that, they could be out there kind of preparing a game plan for how they were gonna go in. If they knew an intruder was in room, you know, 107, they could get a 360 view of that room to see where the little bump outs or closets were and have a game plan to go into that room. Another thing we did was add, if you see it from the outside, there's numbers on every single room now. That's something we didn't have last year. That's for the event of the lockdown. We also had a first responders meeting where we had Mr. Shackelford from the county emergency management, the head of kind of emergency management for Portage County. So he came to a meeting, as well as Chief Massimi from Portage County Sheriff, Deputy Papadakakis, who comes here for all our DARE programs, and then we had Randolph and Atwater Fire there. So we had a meeting to get on the same page with our building plan and district plan before we submitted it to the state. And one thing that Navigate did for us, I submitted to the state, and then Homeland Security, a guy from Homeland Security, shot back an email saying that this will be shot down by the state because of your plans aren't colored and the icons aren't visible enough. And he had a guy from Navigate in on that email, and within 20 minutes, he had uploaded all these images and things that would make us compliant with the state. So I felt Navigate saved us so much time and effort because they had everything preloaded. So now we're compliant with the state of Ohio and our safety plans for the next 3 years. So I thought that alone was worth it, to have Navigate to, you know, work between Homeland Security and the state. And transportation's on here too. I think we have an awesome transportation director with Robin Ferguson. She constantly has an eye on our fleet as well as our routes, and I think she does a great job of keeping our routes efficient. So that's safety, security, and transportation.
Mr. Streeter, how about Alice training? I know that's been very popular in a lot of schools all over the country.
Yes.
How about we're still maintaining that?
We are maintaining that. Our staff about 4 years ago went to a training, so they were trained. Then we had a refresher at the end of last year. Deputy Papadakakis, changed her name from Judy. Luckily, I have a little Greek in me, so I can't pronounce it. But she's been instrumental in coming in. We can send her to classrooms if a teacher has a question. We did a lockdown and barricade drill most recently, and that's part of Alice, is the locking down and then barricading. So all of our teachers went through their room, moved furniture, and were ready to counter. That's the C in Alice, is counter. So that means your students and yourself throw any heavy object at the door or whoever's intruding to try and buy yourself some more time. So yeah, we are continuing to work through Alice and do trainings.
We have one coming up too, so.
Yeah, we'll have one the last week of June, and that'll finish us for safety. We've had 2 of them. It's just, that last one's just gonna be improving upon our lockdown and barricading. We really wanna get that down. Because the other aspect of evacuating is very chaotic, and it's kind of something that you can't really prepare for, because it's gonna be, with the new legislation, what the law enforcement wants you to do now is, you know, if there was an intruder in the elementary right now, we wouldn't lock down and barricade in here. We would run for the fields or take off. So it's not something we can practice really with the kids and the staff.
Maybe not come back.
Yeah, we might have issues with that. So we're just focusing right now on the barricading and making sure we can do that really efficiently.
The next training is May or June?
End of May, you said.
Into May? Okay.
Yeah, and last week I've been working with the deputy on a day for that.
But it is the end of May though, right?
Yeah.
The last few days there.
Thank you. Okay, next we have technology, Mr. Walker.
Hello, Randy Heimer. Just a rundown of some of our things that we've been working on to maintain our technology infrastructure. And those first two bullets, hardware, also kind of go along with that. Like Mr. Brayman said, all of our switches and servers in the district buildings have been changed over and updated. Mr. Dockery and Mr.
Hello. Bob.
What's his
Hello.
last name? Edler, yeah. Did a real nice job on making sure that all went very smoothly, and we had a couple of hiccups, but nothing major. I mean, we were down for a few minutes while they switched things over. But the old equipment was 17 years old and just outdated. I mean, there were things we just could not do with that old equipment. So we are prepared now to be full technology members of the 21st century, and the capacity that we have now, we can also expand our Wi-Fi, make sure we have plenty of bandwidth for, teachers are using videos off the internet so much now, kids are getting on the stuff, I mean, educational things, so we need to be able to have a plan for those things. What we don't have up there is an idea of our software, and I just wanted to touch on what the software that the district is using. We went to Google Gmail here a couple of years ago, and also Google Apps for Education. The nice thing is that suite of products works very well, and Google continues to improve the products, and it's free to schools. And many businesses and a lot of people have their own individual Gmail accounts and Google Docs accounts, so it's very streamlined and runs very smoothly. Google also added a thing called Google Classroom. This happened the summer of 2014. I had a teacher at my former job who got onto it and started embracing it, a technology teacher. And I'm remembering back to some of the things that Lori was doing in her classroom. She was just blown away by how easy it was to use Google Classroom. Google Classroom is a product that allows for paperless dissemination and collection and grading of student assignments. And so instead of having to email every single kid in your class, I mean, in the old days of technology, we would email students, they would email papers back to us. You'd have to open up Word documents and fiddle with file transfers and things. Google Classroom makes all of that very automated and streamlined. The teacher can create a document and put it in the classroom, and then each student that's assigned to that virtual classroom can click on a link, and it basically creates that document for them. So that the naming of the file naming it all has a consistent nomenclature and those kind of things. So we do have some teachers in the district that are starting to embrace Google Classroom. We haven't pushed it on them or anything. We haven't said, hey, try this. They just naturally found out about it on their own. And so I'm excited to see what they can do with that. Another thing that we do, we switched our web page over to Google Web Hosting. We were with a different vendor, and I assume we were paying some money for that. With Google Web Hosting, we have to do a lot of the basic work on our own, but the benefit is it's free, and it works well. And so we're thankful for that. Other various things that the district is doing, we have a new, it's called ASOP, and several of us have used it in other districts that we worked at, but it's a call-off software that helps teachers report when they are going to need to take a sick day. And then that system automatically calls our substitute teachers to get them in. So it's been very handy and helps streamline our paperwork and some other things. We have some cost savings with that. We have on there professional development. We just continue to, I think we do a nice job of some like grassroots professional development here. I've seen, I've had teachers come to me, ask me for technology advice. I've also seen teachers go to each other, go to Matt Dockery and Bob a lot. They're always, if you email these guys, they're right down to your room. And also teachers having students help them out with things, because students know Google Doc or Gmail and things like that. So we're doing a good job on our professional development and helping to build teacher skills in those things. And then as far as our online system for recording student grades, Waterloo switched over to a program called Progress Book. That was, I think, last year was the first full year of implementation. And again, there was a situation where Matt and Bob and the teachers and the administrators here went out and continued to pursue a solution that was cost-saving and better for us. Progress Book was about the same price as the former software that they used. However, Progress Book integrates with our EMIS system, which is how we report student data that we have to the State Department. And so Progress Book integrates right with EMIS, and the grades and everything just go when they're supposed to go. And that again has saved a lot of clerical time, a lot of clerical work. Finally, we just continue to look at our district policies that pertain to technology, and we continue to be current on what the trends are out there, and just make sure that all of us are doing our part to cut costs and make ourselves more efficient, make ourselves better. I asked Matt, I said, what's the technology budget for Waterloo? He said it's $15,000 a year. And that's a small number, but as a new person here, I'm impressed with how I've seen that be very well managed, and we take good care of the resources that we've been blessed with. So.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
You guys don't have a lot of questions on technology?
You were very thorough. Thank you. Okay, next for curriculum instruction and assessment, Mrs. Sandell.
Okay, we're going to talk about just a few things that we've done this year. We have really worked to examine standards-based instructional strategies this year. We spent a lot of time with the staff just reading articles, watching different videos, having a lot of discussion about how to better assess our students, how to report our grades more authentically. When you get that report card home, what does that C mean in math? What does that mean to a parent? Do you look at that and say, okay, great, I don't know what a C means. Does my student understand these different things? So to really hone in on reporting based on the standards. We're looking at lesson planning that includes multiple forms of assessment. Quite often we see an introduction to something, they do some activities, we have a unit test, and the test is a one-size-fits-all. And unfortunately, our students aren't one-size-fit-all. So we are looking at different ways. How can this student show mastery of the content? Because some students might be great at that multiple choice test. Other students might be able to orally tell you everything that you just taught them. So we're looking at multiple forms of assessment. Student choice, again, with that demonstration of mastery. So we teach a lesson, and now at the end of the lesson we say, okay, show us what you know. You can create a wiki, you can blog about it, maybe you want to do a podcast, maybe you want to do a video commercial, all these different options, but it's up to the student to choose what they want to show the mastery of their content. So we talked a lot about that. Reteaching and retesting options for assessment. We are talking about, and I've just actually just sent out some samples of different reteaching policies that are in place across the state in multiple school districts. We want to talk about what works best for Waterloo. Are there options that we can tweak? We don't want to reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of schools that are already doing this. So let's look at what other schools are doing. Let's sit down and talk about our options for reteaching and retesting. I know a lot of teachers, when you say reteach, that's a hard one because they've already invested that time in teaching it. What do you mean I have to reteach it if the kid fails my test? And it's not always on the teacher, and we've talked about all of these things as well, that student to student can reteach a concept. A student could go on and watch Khan Academy, watch a video on the math concept that they just learned and reteach themselves. They can do peer-to-peer tutoring. There's all kinds of options. They could just review their notes and write index cards about what they missed on the exam and then retake it. So reteaching isn't always just kind of put back in the teacher's lap. There are all kinds of options for that. We talked about grade books, only including academic grades. Unfortunately, we have gotten to the point where we include all the behavioral grades in the academic grade. So again, when that child gets a C in math, is that really reporting a pure content-based grade? Or is that C including participation, including extra credit? did I get extra points because I brought in canned foods? That doesn't, then that distorts that grade. So we're talking about making sure that we continually look through progress book and make sure that our academic grades are pure academics. Now, that's not to say that we can't still report on the behaviors, because that's important as well. Does the student participate? Do they do well in the class? Do they get along with their classmates? All of those things are really important, but we want to separate that from the academic grade itself so that it's not distorted. And we're looking at progress book, and can that actual software do that for us, which we believe that it can. Work on ways to document grades based on the standards and content, which we just talked about. And then we want to have community meetings. Mr. Brayman and I have talked about this only means so much if the parents understand what we're doing. So when we talk about looking at those grades and reporting exactly what the student knows and understands, you know, the parents have to understand what we're doing as well. So we want to reach out to them and have those meetings as well. We want to maintain an ACT prep class. As just came out in our ODE updates today, that career and readiness grade is going to show up next year on our report card. So we have got to continue to push our students in that manner. We'll continue our credit flex, although a lot of kids don't take advantage of that. We have our Viking Digital, which is a lifesaver sometimes, and of course our College Credit Plus, which I think a few of our students right here could speak to. My son graduates in 2 weeks, and he said, "Mom, I don't even want to walk across the stage. I don't attend Barberton High School." He's like, "I don't walk the halls there anymore. It's really kind of weird." And while I understand that, of course, he has to do it just for me. So, considering we talked about a district-wide book study on developing that new grade reporting. Again, we want to continue to explore this idea. We can't just tell teachers this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it. We need them to embrace it, understand it, buy into it. So this book called A Repair Kit for Grading is really spelled out 15 different steps on how we can kind of fix all of these issues that we see in our grade cards currently. So that's just a consideration as well.
Okay. That's a lot, and
Sorry.
there's only three items there, but the first one is, it's a big one, and again, this is we're talking about being part of a 5-year plan. We've spent a lot of time this year working with our district leadership team to just introduce these things, and if we can get teachers to buy in to do this, I mean, it's putting us ahead of the game of a lot of districts out there. There's a lot of districts you would be surprised who are considered top-notch high schools who are still counting, and you mentioned canned food.
I'll give you a perfect example. My daughter just sent
Without
me
any names
last
being,
week.
without any school names
I won't
being
say a
mentioned,
school
okay.
name. A picture of a Scantron sheet. She had a test over a book, and there were 105 multiple choice questions on this book. And she's like, "This is my test. This is," and she got it back. There were red marks on the ones that she missed, and she got a 94, and that's all she can tell me. I said, "Well, which ones did you miss?" "Well, I don't know. We didn't go over it." "What do you mean you didn't go over the test?" "Well, we don't get the test back." So out of 105 questions, now the kicker is she never read the book, which says a lot too. 96%, and she never even opened the book. But what does that say about that grade then? What does she really know about that book? I have no idea. So as the parent, I don't know what that means. And yeah, and these are top-notch school districts that kind of are distorting those grades.
It's going to be really interesting because there's a lot of good things in item 1, but a lot of them are big shifts, paradigm shifts. I mean, for instance, you talk about the student, the grading just master.
Right.
How did you master the concepts? You know, a lot of times in college, especially, you know, if you go to college, you go to all the classes, you get all the points for your classes, you get all the points for your homework. That is a letter grade. That grade raises your letter grade 1 right there. If you just do the homework and you go to every class and you get those points.
And we call that playing school. You know, and there's a lot of students that are really, really good at that.
Yeah.
They will attend class every day, they'll participate in class, they'll do all the work, but then they fail the test at the end and they still get an A because the grade is so
It's a grade
inflated.
sort of story. But
Yeah.
even at the college level, that's almost standard, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
You
I
college
just
students,
did it
right?
myself, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
been,
Gentlemen C in
it's been a-
college is very,
it's been a few years since I've been to college, but yeah, that's what I remember. I mean, if you show up,
Anytime you can sleep instead of go to class.
yeah, so,
Right.
yeah,
Or
so-
a-
Well, and you're right, it's a paradigm
It's a
shift,
big
right?
shift.
And that's why we started this year with just exploring all of these things. We spent a lot of time just having, in staff meetings and in DLT meetings, just having conversations about all this. Because any type of change, 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
easily. And unfortunately, in the education business, we are pushed and pushed and pushed, and so, and the next new initiative is on the horizon, and the next state test is here, and it constantly changes on us. So you're in the shift of making this type of change, and then the rules change
and
again.
then everything changes
And
again.
everything changes
or
again.
whatever,
You're
yeah.
you're
Or the
absolutely
people
correct.
pushing it aren't there, all those things.
All those things play.
You know, because one of the things that I could see happening, and this just generalizing, is okay, a student used to get B's because they got all those points,
Right.
or they might used to get an
Goes
A
the opposite way.
because they got all those points. So now all of a sudden you take those participation points and all that away. Now the A or B student becomes a B or C student, and that's awfully hard for people to take.
Right.
You know, so
Which is why those community meetings with parents.
it's going to be
are
really
important.
interesting. It's real challenging, and it's a good thing because we're not, our report card isn't based on participation.
Right.
We don't get points because everybody took the test. We get points of how they did on
On
it.
how to do that.
Which, when we talk about the choice of demonstrated mastery,
Mhm.
that one kind of is, in my mind, I think, okay, that's good if they understand it, but they still have to be able to.
Really understand it.
They have to understand, but they still, no matter, at the end of the day, they need to be able to prove that they understood the lesson to be able to adhere to what's required socially. In our case, it's a report card, but once they graduate from college, they can master that concept, and I can tell you all about it. I can tell Diane how to cut hair. But if I go get a job at a salon, I'm not going to be very good at
Be
it.
a hot mess,
You
right?
know what I'm saying? Exactly. It'd just be a mess. There'd be no
Well,
point
and
to
I think
it.
the other thing that's
So-
really important when we look at like student choice and things like that, we have to understand that this isn't on every single lesson either. You know, there still are, there's still a place
Wide spec, yeah.
for a unit test or a sit-down paper pencil. Write an essay on this. Those things still exist. I'm not saying that we have to get to a point where there's student choice on every single lesson we teach. And that's a hard part too. We have to kind of
It's a
reel
lot of,
people back in with that.
That's, and like I said, I'll piggyback on that. That first part of that, it's a major, and you hit it on the head, it's a major paradigm shift in thinking, and it's not gonna happen overnight. We really, tried to, plus the fact that I'm new, all of our principals are practically new, and we're working with people who've been around here for 25 years, 20 years. So, to develop that relationship and that trust, and then talk about doing things a little bit differently and shifting in how you're thinking, what you do every day, that's taking quite a chance for our teachers. It's a big risk for them, and I appreciate the fact that, in the DLTs and in staff meetings, they've been listening and participating and at least open to the idea, but it's gonna, it's an uphill climb. But I've seen it work, I've seen it happen, it does improve student learning, and that's what we're here for, and I believe it's the best thing for our kids, so I'll die with that in mind. And that's it. All right, anything else? All right, thank you very much, well done. And I'll quickly go through the next, I have the next one here. Faculty, staff, and student personnel, maintain mediums of communication. We're maintaining that. We already have Facebook, we have Twitter. I can't believe that I'm involved with either one of those things. I've stayed away from them forever, but I indirectly I'm involved with Twitter through things we put on Facebook. Emails to the community, we try to do updates constantly. Our administrators are very good about, they're much more detailed than I am, and I just steal from them and put everything together and send it out to the community, and we appreciate that, but we'll continue to do that. I resumed, although I don't know if we ever had this, I resumed a superintendent's roundtable, did that for a while. I'm going to grab some tools and fix that a little bit for next year, but we'll resume that next fall. Also had a key communicator, so it wasn't very well attended, and I'll have to do a better job of publicizing that. But just to give people the opportunity to come in here and talk about things that we're doing at school, and that's what was exciting to me, to do those things. So we'll continue that, all these things next fall. Maintain a district-wide volunteer program. I say the word maintain. I've asked around a little bit, like, what's this volunteer program? And I just get the 1,000-yard stare from everyone. So that'll be a new thing, I think, trying to develop a volunteer program for whatever initiative this group and I will come up with. But that's something we'll work on over the next few years.
I think we have a lot of volunteers. We just don't have
We don't have a
a
group.
formalized
Yes.
process. You know, there's going to be the, I'm sorry,
That's all right.
the dinner, or the breakfast, or
The volunteer
the
break.
volunteer breakfast the 25th. That would be a good time
Oh, yeah.
to
Okay.
rally them, start the process.
Okay, good.
Thinking out loud.
Good deal. What else? Where we're maintaining the high school and establishing the middle school, the requirement of service hours in the community by Waterloo students. I think that, again, kind of going along with the volunteer thing, we have a lot of people doing a lot of things that you don't even know about it. For example, we just started with the fishing club, the archery club that we started at the high school, all these little things that just to get students involved, to draw them out. That's what I'm into. Kids who don't have, maybe they're not playing sports, or not in the arts, they're not in band. I really am interested in finding things for them to do and to feel part of, and I'm thankful for the fact that we have people willing to participate in that. We'll keep working on that as well. And the last part, maintain collaborative partnerships with local colleges and universities. The one we have, that's really with the University of Akron for student teachers. I'd like to see us get more involved in the ones close by, Kent State, and Mount Union, and I'm a product of Ashland and Walsh. I wouldn't mind seeing them get involved and work on different collaborations in some way or form with all these schools so our kids can see there's more than, not that there's anything wrong with the University of Akron, my entire family went there, and for anyone else out there, but it's great for them to see different colleges always around and to get to recognize faces. So we'll work on that. That's a big goal. All right. And the next thing, did I skip one?
What do you want?
Faculty, staff, and student personnel.
There you go.
Enhance the ability to attract and retain quality faculty and staff. And I asked the principals who participate in this program called the Haberman training for an interview process. I went through that many years ago, and I saw the opportunity for them to do that. I asked them to participate in it, and I think they got a lot from that. So I'm eager to put that to use. That was a great way, in my mind, it was a great way to, when you're interviewing 20 people, and you've got to get it down to 5 for the next round or what have you, it was a great way to really cut through that and get to the heart of the matter. And it was very student-centered interview questions, and there's really no right or wrong answer. It's more about who the person is being interviewed. But we implemented that this year. We've talked about doing AppleTrack to make our process a little bit more efficient, to get our openings out there so more people can see it. The more out, if we're just focusing on maybe, Kent State or the University of Akron for teachers, think about all the people that we leave out there. If we can do it all over Ohio and try to attract people to come here. So we'll keep working on that. Align staffing levels to areas of greatest need. That's just done through taking a look at data, evaluating teachers accurately, trying to find out, where are the numbers, where are the students going, and taking care of business in regards to that. And we've tried to start paying attention to that even for next year as well. To evaluate extracurricular programs and their associated costs, the same thing. We're just paying a little bit more attention to how we're spending, trying to be very careful about what we're doing. Our extracurriculars, I think, are awesome. We have I think we had a great bunch of coaches, certainly a great band director and people who are involved with the arts. But we wanted to just keep an eye on how things are being spent to make sure we're being careful, and in regards to district spending, we're always careful with that as well. So that'll continue to move onward over the next 5 years. And that's it. I went through that really quickly. I feel like we were taking longer than I wanted to with this. But if you have no questions, we'll move on to our financial part.
Can I have a part?
Sure.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
I have to have a question. One of the things that is really going to be tricky is this enhance our ability to attract and retain quality faculty and staff, because it seems to me that there's a lot less due to all the criticism and all the I think it's all the negativity around educational, and that it seems like there's just not as many students going into education anymore. I mean, this year, senior class, is there anybody going into education?
Just a few.
Yeah, so there's just, when my daughter graduated in 06, there was it seemed like half the class
Oh, is
were
that
going
right?
into education, and then you've just seen it every year. it seems like it's dwindling.
I'll tell you what, from a selfish standpoint, I think from Waterloo standpoint, I think the key though to getting quality people in here to stay was continuity. I think, you know, if I'm here, if our principals stay where they are, and and if you guys stay in the spots where you're at, all these things are tied hand in hand. I think that in my history, you know, where I've been in the past, the things when it worked best is when I was at a particular place longest, you know, and it's unfortunate we don't have more people getting involved. That's a sad state of education, I guess, in the state.
Yeah.
But
I just think there's gonna be a shortage.
yeah,
Overall, there's gonna be a shortage coming in.
yeah, and you're right, and it's good to have a plan to, you know, to at least think about it, keeping and attracting
That's why
quality
it's nice to
applicants.
also have those student teachers here as well. You know, because they're here, they
Yeah.
get to know the students, they get to know the families, and then they, you know, we may be able to attract some of them to stay if there's positions, so that's a
Yeah.
nice process.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, anything else, guys? Mr. Carpenter, you ready?
Okay, on
He's
the
been looking
financial
forward to
side,
this all day, by the way.
As you know, Dr. Bill put this five-year strategic plan together when he was here. And you've seen tonight how we made our attempts to go through and to rework it and make it fit for what we're currently doing, what the vision we see for the district is now. But part of that was pursue additional local support through a ballot issue. And at that time, we were trying to pass a operating levy. Unfortunately, this is an area that we have to pursue more often than what we would like to, but that is vital to maintain a quality educational system. But in February 5th, 2013, the community did pass a 5.95-year operating levy. And as you can recall, we decided upon that amount because the community said we want the lowest amount of millage for the shortest period of time. And at that time, with the millage we passed, we projected in the 5-year forecast that we would get out through fiscal year 2017, which is almost a year from where we are right now. Continue to evaluate all areas of operation for cost-saving measures. As you heard Mr. Walker mention earlier, how the district has moved forward with free software, free web hosting. We moved to those areas. Have to commend our staff, our custodial staff, our transportation, our teaching staff. I don't know how many times I've heard, you know, people come in the office and say, hey, can we set this new vendor up? We can get better pricing through them than our current vendor that we're using. So everybody seems to be very cognizant in the district of our financial situation and always are trying to come up with ways to save the district money. And then also areas that we made an attempt to, how can we go out, how can we find additional dollars for the district? When Dr. Hill was here, we implemented the Medicaid reimbursement program. That program lags behind. We just received last month for the 11-12 school year, received a check for $96,441 for Medicaid reimbursement during the 11-12 school year. We've also went out, we also bring in about $95,000 a year as fiscal agent for the Portage Area Schools Consortium. And then lastly, maintain financial credibility. We continue to get clean audits, and we've held true to the 5-year forecast. And as I mentioned before, we're tracking right where we thought we'd be tracking when we committed to the community that we would get out through 2017 in the forecast with the millage they passed back in 2013. That's all.
Great.
Any questions?
Good job. Nice job. I think also, Todd, you've done a great job, and even though it doesn't show up, I don't believe it shows up in our yearly budget with reworking the bonds.
Oh, yeah, I meant to mention.
Save the
Yeah,
school
yeah,
district,
so-
I forget how much.
Yeah, we've done 2 bond refundings since we passed the bond issue, and right now I forget exactly what it was, but I think we're in excess of $1 million saving the taxpayers on the interest that needed to be collected on that original bond issue back in 2001.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And that doesn't show up monthly, right? That's just at the end of the year, we'll pay off our bonds sooner.
We won't pay off the bonds, so that's just that much less every year the county auditor collects from you as a taxpayer.
Oh, so it does make a
To
difference.
pay, so instead of collecting, you know, this year we have $800,000 coming due in principal and interest. This year we might have $600,000 coming due.
Okay.
But the length of the bond issue is still.
Well, okay, so it is a yearly thing.
Yeah.
to the taxpayers. Okay, great.
You know, Todd is a very modest person too. I mean, he does a very, very good, has done well in educating me, and it's amazing to me on how conscientious he is in our spending. And it's something that I think we should toot our horn a little bit more often, and how careful we've been over the years, and get that word out that we are very careful what we do every single day, and that's attributable to you.
Say that 10 times.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's all I have. Thank you very much. It's my record time.
Great. Thanks, everyone. That's a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of good things, I think, going forward. I mean, it's a lot, kind of exciting to see all the things that are changing, and, you know, trying to make those steps. And it's not, you know, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. It'd be easy just to sit back and say, okay, we're, you know, here we are, we're okay. Well, it's impressive that everybody wants to work hard and make things even better. And I think we're doing pretty good as it is. So it's exceptional. So great.
Thank you.
Item 7, the treasurer's report. Todd, did you just give that, or?
No, I'll just touch base real quick. So
Okay.
we have the 5-year forecast revision in May, as required by the state of Ohio. So, you know, as the notes I put out to you earlier, the only thing that's really changed and had a major impact on that 5-year forecast between now and the one in October is our insurance rates went up 12% for next fiscal year. And as you recall, you know, we're part of the 4-year school consortium. We've had a very good track record there. I think our average increase for the last 4 years in the consortium has been a 5.2% increase, average renewal. And as you recall, for Waterloo, last year we had a 0% increase. They gave us a rate pass because our claim history has been so good for so long. But it isn't that Waterloo's had a bad year, it's the consortium in general. And not only our consortium, but our third-party consultant that deals with other consortiums as well. And they said all across their lines of business, just healthcare's and really topsy-turvy, up in the air, a lot of things unknown with the Affordable Care Act. So this year we have a 12% increase. They've always recommended in the past that we project 10% increases for hospitalization, and we've done that. But they're saying moving forward, we should probably be projecting in the neighborhood of 11-12% in the foreseeable future. So the forecast takes into effect the 12% for next year, and then moving forward, it's projecting out through the forecast 11% increases per year. Hopefully, we won't have those increases, but at least we need to be on the safe side and plan for those if those do occur. So that's all I have.
So, just for my own memory, when we passed our last levy, we said that was going to last us through 16 or 17.
We said we'd be through fiscal year 17.
Okay, and we're showing about 100,000.
And we're tracking pretty much
Pretty much right where we said we'd be. So we're doing good there. One of the interesting things to note, I think, looking at our the 5-year forecast, is starting in 15, we started spending more money per year than we're taking in. So we're chewing off our savings, and that just gets progressively worse, if you will. So, you know, in 15 we were spending about 66,000 more than we took in, and then it goes up to 400,000, and it goes to 800,000. So it grows pretty quickly. So we've got our work cut out for us here in the next.
And then of course we have the renewal that will probably have to be filled out either in 17. I think November of 17 is the earliest we can put that on for the renewal. And the latest we would put that on without it expiring, and they have to renew it. It would be November of 2018.
So it expires at the end of 2018, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So, you know, good news, bad news. You know, we've got some financial challenges coming up. The good news is, that's the bad news. The good news is that I've learned over the last 20 years that Todd doesn't miss this stuff by much. So if we've got things coming up, he's pretty accurate with what he does. It's excellent. So thank you very much, Todd. Okay, our student liaison. I think we're going to make this person go last, aren't we, from now on? After the executive session. Maybe. Okay.
She said she would stay to the end.
She stayed at the end. Okay. Okay, Tori, please.
I'm going to start with the senior class. Our annual senior breakfast will be next Thursday morning, and the annual award assembly will be next Friday, and graduation is June 5th. I know I'm ready for graduation. Junior class just held prom at St. Nicholas Hall in Mogador. The theme was Gatsby, and everyone had a fabulous time. Student council will be holding elections for class officers and next year's student council members this month. Beta Club just finished their collection for Pegasus Farms, and they are beginning to think of ideas for next year. Pep Club has been celebrating our seniors. They made some signs with the seniors' names on them. And today it was out at lunch, so whoever wanted to could write little notes to the seniors on the actual poster. And they're recruiting students from the incoming freshman class, and it's a fun club to be in. The blood drive, there were 3 blood drives this year that earned a total of $2,500 in scholarships for the class of 2016. For track is going well. Both teams have made great improvements from last year, where the boys and girls only won 1 meet. This year, the boys finished 3-4 to 2, and the girls finished 4 to 4 in dual meets. The PTC championships were held, I think, was it yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, yesterday, and will be held Friday at Crestwood, and the district meet will be held May 18th and May 20th at Norwayne High School. Baseball, currently the boys baseball team has a record of 9-10. For the seniors, that equals the most wins they've ever experienced in a single season in high school baseball. Mr. Doctor would like to extend our congratulations to the 6 seniors: Zach Barbos, Derek Burdett, James McPhee, Ryan Kovacic, Jess Hayes, and Casey Jones. Softball is the PTC. They won the PTC championship last night. The last championship was in 2009, so 7 years ago. Currently, their record is 18-2, and they finished the league at 10-2. Coach Flaherty says, "I am so proud of this team and who are just a truly special group of young ladies." They play their sectional final tomorrow at home. Band, there's a band concert tomorrow at 7 p.m. and the next choir concert will be May 26th at 7 p.m. And this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the drama club is putting on the production of Guys and Dolls. I know Friday and Saturday it'll both be at 7 p.m. and on Sunday it's at 2 p.m. And I just want to say a huge thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the student liaison this year, because this is my last meeting that I'll be at. It's just been a great way to advance my communications and leadership skills, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Good job.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Tori. She's on it. Okay, high school principals update.
Okay. Brian touched on this to start with our Teacher Appreciation Week last week. We want to publicly thank the churches of Atwater and Life. I always want to say Life Touch. That's the picture company we use. Life Point, they donated some goodies for our teachers, breakfast and a luncheon. So that was really nice. And then, of course, the building principals had little treats for our teachers all week long. So it's great to recognize them in that week. Last night, the Randolph Lions Club Memorial Day speech contest was held. Our winner was Natalie Wolford, and other finalists were Katie Weaver and Krista Barbos. So they did a nice job. That's on our Facebook page. The band performed at Kent State University last Friday. They got up with the university. I know I talked about this last time, but the day after their concert, I received an email, and it always makes me nervous when I see emails, sometimes from unknown people. And this was a long one, so I was like, oh no, what happened? But it was from Ray Harkar, and he just wanted to praise the band and how far they've come and all the things that they did, how great it was to see what wonderful young men and women represented Waterloo at that concert. So it was one of those great emails to read on a Saturday morning. Our High Flyers are performing actually Friday here in the high school. The kids have been so excited about coming up to the high school and performing for the high schoolers, so that'll be Friday morning. Our county team breakfast, we have been involved in the county team program. We are recognizing 14 students and their families. Only one of our Waterloo students was chosen as County Teen of the Month, but we recognize 2 students every month at the high school, and so we're getting together at Biomet or Maplewood. I can't remember where it is, but to recognize them next Monday. As Tori mentioned, we have our senior breakfast and our senior awards coming up. I can't believe that this is happening. We were just actually trying on graduation robes, and it just, Mr. Streeter said it just, this year just has flown by, and I agree wholeheartedly with him. This year we're going to start a new tradition. The kids get dressed up, they put on their caps and gowns for their senior awards, but the half hour before senior awards, we're going to have the students, the seniors, walk through the entire district. And we're going to have all the other students line the hallways and kind of congratulate the seniors before they graduate. Of course, somebody saw it on Facebook. I think we all saw it because the night I saw it, then I had like 3 people the next morning saying, "Can we do this? Can we do this?" So it was already on my page as well. So we're going to go ahead and give that a try, and hopefully that'll be very special for the seniors and for the rest of the students. We did it today with our softball girls. They walked through the halls, and it was amazing to hear the cheers and the claps. It was really fun. Thank you, Mr. Schrader. Graduation rehearsal has been moved up to Thursday. We typically do it Friday morning right before their picnic, but we had to move it to Thursday afternoon because Mr. Drugan, one of our senior advisors, is involved in track, and there's a conflict in their schedule, and we want to make sure he reads all the names. So we want to make sure that he's here to rehearse with us so that we get that right. So we just moved it to Thursday afternoon, which shouldn't be a big deal. The kids are still here. The senior picnic then is Friday the 3rd. Graduation is the 5th at 3 o'clock. Of course, you will all be there, hopefully. That'll be fun. And we have currently, I think, 23 staff members who will be joining us.
Good.
Which is a really great turnout. And then June 8th is our last day for students. I propose we move the June 9th board meeting because that'll be the last day for staff. And just putting that out there.
Do you want to move it to a location, or you just?
That would be a great idea.
Thanks. Did you know Mr. Harkar?
I met him. Actually, he came in just this year to work with the band before they went to OMEA contest. So I had an opportunity. He was here for about 3 days, and I had an opportunity.
He was the band director back when we were in school, and even way before then.
Yes,
He'd been here like 30-some years.
1962 or something.
Yeah, to the 90s.
Long
What a
time.
just a fabulous guy. Just a tremendous.
Yeah, it was a great email, and I shared it with Mr. Raymond and Mrs. Atkins as well. It was really nice to read.
Yeah, he's neat.
Good evening, guys. Just several quick updates from the middle school. It's interesting, and again, we keep kind of scratching our heads. It's May already, but state testing is done, and it's like a breath of fresh air now and a load off of our shoulders. But I just wanted to give a brief update on that. We think that we did a great job, and it's up to the state at this point to tell us how well or poorly they feel that we did. But our students and our teachers did a great job of staying focused. We had no issues happening through that process. The middle school is excited. I'm excited. I think that we have a fishing club starting up here. Mr. Swanson, one of our bus drivers, and a local guy that everybody knows, and then Steve Jones, a former band member. I don't know if he's in the band, but he was on board. Former board member. These guys, through a few kind of weird circumstantial events, the 3 of us were able to get together and start up something for the kids. I want to mention a kid in 7th grade, Brandon Reed, too. He's very big into fishing, and he's the one that came to me and then saw Steve at something for at a convention and talked to him about it. And so I want to point that out, too. He did a nice job on. He's really into it. We have a meeting next week on Tuesday, and then the following week we're going to take the kids down to Waldorf Reservoir just for a couple hours in the afternoon and let them fish. And I'll be there, and we'll have Steve and Jeff there as well. The Waterloo Leo's Club sponsored a pet food drive and pet supplies drive. We did that and wrapped that all up. And also our Atwater Lions Club just completed a coats and boots drive. We felt a lot of people were talking about how this time of year people are trying to spring clean and get rid of stuff. And the Lions approached Mr. Streeter and I and asked if they could do that, and we said absolutely. So that was a good thing. We just finished that up. I wanted to recognize our art winners from the Neomed, from our art show up at Neomed. In first place was Khaled Alcoholic. Second place was Gavin English. Second place was Shane Matthews. Third place was Brian Andrick. And fourth place was Emily Short. And then we had several kids that received honorable mention ribbons as well. Finally, just a couple of other things. Our 7th grade girls basketball team will be participating in a team shootout at University of Mount Union. That's on Monday, June 6th. And they'll get to play several scrimmage games against other teams, and they also get some instructional sessions and that kind of stuff. So we're thankful for Mr. Brayman's support to allow them to go do that. And then we just have a bunch of some of our fun activities scheduled for the end of the year. A field day for our 6th graders on Monday, an ice cream social for our 7th graders on Tuesday. Tuesday evening is our 8th grade awards and recognition ceremony. Wednesday is our picnic and field day with our 8th graders, our last day of school, and we are done at that point. That's all I have. Any questions? Thanks, guys.
Good evening once again. One thing I didn't mention with our safety and security was CPR. Mrs. Carpenter set that up for us with the Atwater Fire Department. They sent out 4 people, and we did a CPR training. We had a couple people from the elementary, a couple people from the high school, Mr. Green, Mr. Walker, and myself. So it was a good thing, and we're going to continue that. We'll work with Randolph, and I think in the fall we're going to work with Atwater for CPR. So the goal is to get as many staff members CPR and AED trained, and I think that'll be a big push for our safety and security in the building. I was just going to mention a few quick dates here. On the 19th, we have a 4th grade performance at 7 p.m. They do this every year. This is a very cool performance. It's musical and kind of a skit too. Then, as Mr. Pusateri mentioned, we have a volunteer breakfast on the 25th at 9 a.m. Something we've been doing the last couple of years for them. They do some awesome things for our school, so I wanted them to have something that they could show off that they're a volunteer for our district. So this will be the second year we do a I'm a Viking volunteer t-shirt. Last year they got burgundy, and this year they're going gray. And that was a mom in our community, Amy Curtis. She does the t-shirts for us. Does an awesome job with them. Then our Atwater Fire Department is coming out, I think I mentioned this last board meeting, on the 1st of June to do a touch a truck. And the Sheriff's Department's actually going to bring out some vehicles too, so that'll be cool for the kids. As Mr. Pusateri touched on a little bit, we had a very awesome thing happen during Teacher Appreciation Week. Michael Brockett, who was a former Waterloo student, who is now a pilot, flew Mrs. Benson over the football stadium, and we had her class out there waving to her. Mrs. Benson does like a memory book at the end of every year, and in Michael's memory book, she put in there, and this was from 2001, that he knows more about planes than anyone she's ever met, and she thinks he always complains about not seeing enough things, so she thinks he's going to be a commercial airlines pilot and travel the world. And don't forget old Mrs. Benson when you do it. So sure enough, he called her up and said, I actually am a pilot now, and I'd love to take you for a plane ride. And we had the Record Courier come out, and they did a story on it. It was on the front page of the Record Courier the other day. So it was really cool. It's also on the elementary Facebook page, and I think the Waterloo Local Schools page. So that was awesome. Awesome story. And the kids loved it. Mr. Walker mentioned the Lions Club. The Lions Club, both Atwater and Randolph, have been in the building lot this year, doing some really cool things with our students, so I'd like to give them a big shout out for that. And then finally, our spelling bee, as Mr. Brandon said, Emma Chafee, who's a fourth grade student, was our champ, so she has a chance to repeat. She's a brilliant young lady. We had Miss Hutchinson organized the spelling bee this year and did an incredible job. She's a very organized individual. And then Mrs. Gage, Mr. Hamilton, Mr. McKinnon, Mrs. Shaver were all judges and the MC, so that was really cool. I interviewed Emma on the announcements this morning, it was like a post-game interview, and it was hilarious. I thought maybe she would just be like, yeah, it was good, I won, but I threw some weird questions at her. One was, she paused at one point, like in the middle of it, and I thought she was gonna freeze, and she was just really thinking about a word. And I asked her, I was gonna see if she could remember, so I said, you were really laboring over a word. What word was that? And what was going through your head? She said, it was glacier. And Mrs. Benson told me, I before E except after C, but I remember from our ancient Indians unit that glacier was a funny word, so I was just thinking it through. So it was really fun. She really like, it was impressive how much she was thinking during this whole spelling bee. And then one final thing, you thanked me for the softball walkthrough, and I did put that on the announcements, but that was actually Mr. Hamilton, the Viking pride man himself. I don't think there's a person who has more Waterloo pride than that man. So he was the one who asked, hey, can we have the softball girls walk through the district? So we made that happen today. So congratulations to them on that awesome accomplishment. That's all I have.
Great, thanks to everybody. A lot of exciting things going on.
Yep.
That brings us to the Maplewood update.
Okay, I don't have a whole lot to report. There's a lot of things I would like to find out in our next meeting before I report. Only thing that I do want to make mention is the awards assembly graduation is scheduled for Thursday, May 26th at 7 p.m. at Mac Center, Kent State. So that's going on, and that's really all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Me either.
And then the legislative update.
Yeah, I got a couple things. Obviously, there hasn't been much recently going on, so I was digging back through yesterday with Todd, and we found some stuff actually going over, kind of relating to what Mr. Streeter was talking about with the CPR training. Back last March, there was a House Bill 113 that was proposed that actually could have taken place and as early as this upcoming school year, but obviously that's being halted as it's only been passed in the Ohio House. But it would require public schools to provide student instruction in CPR and AED training, and require school districts to provide training in the use of AED to teach person employed by that district. It would basically be a program that they would come into the school and either through the American Heart Association or the American Red Cross Association, and the student maybe actually become certified in CPR and AED training and keep that with them, which is pretty neat. And then one that went along with that was the Senate Bill 252 that is also still pending in the Senate, or pending in the House, has been passed by the Senate, that was proposed at the end of last year. And it would establish specific provisions for sudden cardiac arrest in athletic activities, and would permit each school to hold an informational meeting prior to the start of each athletic season regarding the symptoms and warning signs of sudden cardiac arrest, basically making everybody aware of what's going on to prevent more accidents from happening, and to prepare them for what to do in an emergency situation. And then it would actually prohibit an individual from coaching that athletic activity until they complete the required instructional activities. So just a few things. Any questions? That's it.
Pretty fast, huh? Not really. Trying to get back to my agenda, I'm sorry. Okay. New business, any new business, any of the board members would like to bring up?
I don't have anything new, and I don't think I heard Victoria say anything, but didn't Caitlin Hood break the home run record
She did.
for, so I want to acknowledge that,
Yeah, she did. I heard that last night.
yesterday, she beat, I think it's Jessie Bolance and another girl was tied, and
I think she did. She have 2 last?
she had one.
Just
It's
one.
7 total. So the
7
second
total
was the
in a
record.
season, so she beat that record yesterday.
She had a lot of RBIs, I think 6 or 7 in the
Yes.
first few innings. She had a good game.
It's exciting. seeing
It
them
was
so well.
exciting to watch the whole team. I mean, even Jess, who is an assistant coach, just in excitement for it.
And they were very young, right?
Well,
Team
she's
itself.
she's the only senior.
Yeah, say other than her, everybody else is very.
And then she was tied with Amber Saplinski, so it's very interesting, this team, what it's
Yeah.
gonna do for the next 2 years.
Great. Any other new business? Okay. That brings us to the consent agenda. We'll start with a motion to accept to pass the consent agenda,
Second.
and then we'll let Mr. Brayman highlight any points in there he'd like, or?
I have
or-
nothing to highlight this month.
Okay.
Do we know who's gonna be the head football coach for the middle school or no?
If it's not on here, I would say not yet.
Okay, and I think no other comments or questions? Okay. I have, due to a stipulation, one of the events here has a family member of mine on one of the items, so I will be abstaining. So that's not a statement of anything against anybody or anything like that, it's just legally I have to abstain, so. Roll call, please, Todd?
Fletcher,
Yes.
Whittlesey,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Gump,
Yes.
Pussenberry.
Abstain. I believe that's everything, right? So we go in, okay. So at this time, we have a motion to recess an executive session to discuss employment and possibly matters required to be kept confidential.
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions? Roll call, please, Todd.
Whittlesey,
Yes.
Gump,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Pussenberry.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'll check in there.
Let you know.
Yeah, I text, Lisa, yeah,
Yeah.
it's back.
I'm sure it will. We just got the one told.
Because he was in your class, yeah, because he was, okay. That's terrible.
Oh, you guys are here. Okay, you had to wait all the time.
What did he do?
I just thought you guys were so dedicated.
You work with Adam?
Come to our meeting, I was excited.
So you doing just one big picture?
All over the world.